Welcome to the live. Guys, numbers don't lie. Inventory is just about to surpass last year's high. So if you're selling, this could be your last chance to list high. If you're buying, guys, you need to watch this to set yourself up for success so you don't lose out on thousands of dollars. Now, guys, if you're new to the channel, my name is Patrick Lorienti. I've been selling real estate here in Colorado as a licensed agent for the last 10 years. So I'm not just reading stats in good video. I'm actually boots on the ground selling real estate as well. So you'll see my contact information down below. If you guys are looking to buy, sell, or invest, feel free to reach out and be sure to subscribe because this is the type of information you're going to want before you enter the market so that you can make smart real estate decisions based on what's actually going on. Guys, I don't know of a better place or a place that does these market updates every single Wednesday like I do in a way that's going to empower you guys to succeed here in Colorado. Now, let's get into today's topic. I believe there's going to be a price shift, potentially one of the first negative price curves Colorado home prices have seen in a long time. And like I said in the beginning, numbers don't lie. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share my screen, go through a Denver real estate market update, show you some stats. And then from there, I'm gonna narrow in on the inventory spike we're seeing, the coming price correction I feel like is going to happen. And then I'm gonna get into sellers and buyers, what my message is to you to set you up for success, and then give you my final thoughts. So let's dive in. I'm gonna share my screen as I usually do so that you guys can see exactly what I am seeing and understand what's happening in today's market. So let's do this. Share. You guys should be able to see my screen here in just a second. Boom. There we go. All right. Now to ensure you guys can see the screen. Yep. All right. We're good to go. So right here, we've got detached single family market highlights. Thank you to Megan Aller with First American Title. A lot of these insights I'm gleaning from her report. Sometimes I'm showing you Colorado home realty stats. Sometimes I'm showing you Megan's or a variation of some different, very legitimate data sources here in Colorado. So detached single family market. Inventory is rising, 18.4% increase month over month, 40 to 60 year over year. Wait till I show you guys the charts. Market is balanced, 2.3 months of inventory showings. This is quite interesting, and I'll show you guys the relationship between these. But really, inventory is supply, showings are demand. Showings are up 78,500 showings in March, which is up 32.5% month over month, but 26.8% year over year. So showings are a bright spot in today's market. Closings are up 4.1% year over year. We've got pending sales. This is a really good sign because this is showing how active the market is. And right now we're up 36% month over month, 14% year over year. But unfortunately, it's not keeping pace with supply, which is going to be what we're talking about here shortly. As far as sales price trends, you got month over month, we're up 0.6%. From last month, 0.9% medium. In what we're looking at here is average sales price trend to median sales price trend. Year over year, though, if we look at average, we're down 1.4%. Medium is up 1.5%. Overall, we're flat in one of the hottest months of the year. One of the months where we see most of the appreciation that occurs, really that's between February to April, right? I'm hinting at something that we'll get into here shortly. As far as concessions, 64% of deals had concessions. Average concessions vary by zip code. Some areas experience an average of $6,600, while other areas like Evergreen experience $25,000 in concessions. If you're not aware of what concessions are, it's where a seller provides a buyer a concession, a credit to pay down their closing cost or typically their interest rate in a higher rate environment. Key takeaway we'll get into here shortly for those sellers. Attached market. This market is a lot different, guys. 4.2 months of inventory, almost double year over year. Double year over year. odds of selling. And guys, let me just paint a picture for you. In COVID 2020, 2021, where we were seeing home price appreciation going at the rate of 16% in some areas, 18%, 10%, we had like less than 0.6 months inventory. Like, it was absolutely absurd. So just to kind of give you a measurement, 4.2 months of inventory is a lot. Odds of selling, this is saying in a 30-day period, your odds of selling is down by 16.4% year over year, down by 32.9%. But what you guys are wanting to see is average prices for attached single family condos and townhomes down 5% month over month, down 9.4% year over year. Median prices down 2.5%. And then 8.1 year over year. Major headwinds, or rather, why might this be happening? Well, increased HOA dues, which saw incredible increases over the last, I would say, 2 to 4 years. Insurance hikes, non-warrantable lending issues. A lot of these condo projects won't allow FHA, and at a more approachable price point. More often than not, you have a big buyer pool that's FHA that can't buy these condos anymore. You have special assessments, deferred maintenance on these buildings that needs to be taken care of. And so they assess a certain dollar amount to the homeowners to fix these things. And then there's a ton of litigation and defect issues. There's been a lot of issues with condos and townhomes. Concessions on average were 7,800. And distress sales, foreclosures, people defaulting, small uptick to 3.3%. Not alarming, but worth monitoring. All right, guys. This is the weekly report. Kind of same thing. We just went up over there. We'll go into pro tips in a second. But let's get into inventory. I'm going to pull this up for you guys so that you can see why I believe this might very well be one of the first years in a long time where Colorado experiences a negative price curve. And it's very, very simple. I think once you guys see what I'm looking at, you guys are, one, going to understand the market more than maybe even some agents, but two, is there any way to contact you? Yes, you can contact me with the number below on the screen, 303-332-1108. If you guys have questions, if you're looking for an agent who can guide you through the process of buying and selling a home, feel free to reach out. I am a licensed agent here in Colorado, have been for 10 plus years, and would love nothing more to be a resource for you guys and guide you through this market that really is difficult. And unless you have a really, really high level team, unless you know the market in this way, it can be easy to misstep and not achieve the results you're looking for. So I'm just about to share my screen. I have inventory up here. What I was saying is you guys are probably going to understand the market more than, I hate to say it, but even some agents, just by listening to this video. And then again, we're going to go through inventory here. And then I'm going to share with you the coming price correction, why I believe this is going to be the case. And then, of course, message to sellers in message to buyers. So without further ado, let's share the screen once more and let you guys in on stats. So we've got stats here. Inventory by month. So as you can see, this is January of 2015 right here, all the way to January 2025. So we have a 10-year running of inventory that we can reference here. Now, as you could see in 2020, 2021, even the beginning of 2022, inventory was just absolutely the lowest we've seen, I think, ever. And rates were as low as they could be. Homes were very affordable, and price appreciation jumped at a rapid pace during those years. But since then, we saw inventory increase. Now, in 2022, the height of it, we were back in pre-pandemic inventory levels, which was good. That was a healthy, balanced market. Home prices were appreciating. And we saw that same thing in 2023. But what happened in 2024 is we saw inventory jump over pre-pandemic years. But that was right here. That was like week 29. That was mid-year. Well, guys, look at where we're at now. We're at 10,517 homes, where the peak of 2024 was 11,400 homes. And we're just getting started, guys. We're in the beginning of April, and we're only 1,000 homes away from the peak in 2024. And so, as you could see, this huge gap right here between 2023 and 24, that's an inventory gap. Now we're starting to see that gap even get larger here in 2025 to 2024. And so the only way we can keep supply and demand ratios at a level where the market is appreciating is if we have absolutely incredible showing demands and under contract homes pace new listings. Because if you have more new listings coming to market than you do homes going under contract every month, you're getting this market with a little bit of bloated inventory, if you will. Now, guys, I don't know that this is necessarily a bad thing. For some sellers, yeah, this is going to suck because you might have bought in 2021 at the end of it, or 2022 or 2023, and you're wanting to sell, and you're just going to have to stay put for a little bit longer, or sell and, potentially have to come out of pocket. And so for some of you, yeah, this isn't great. Overall for the market, I mean, the market's cyclical and it has its cycles, and that's just the reality of it when we look at it objectively. So going into showings, here's the bright spot. I say that lightly because the reality is we're already seeing, I showed you guys in this data that home prices were flat, and we are in the time of year where home prices typically gain the most appreciation. And so if we're flat now, what's going to happen in 6 months from now? And showing demand is at record highs. We're higher than we were 2023, 2024, 2020 at this point in time. And we just surpassed showings from 2022 when rates were still low. And even then, we aren't seeing enough homes go under contract and keep pace with that inventory. And so that essentially creates this supply and demand. I hate to call it an issue because, again, there is a perspective here that this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just is what it is objectively. And knowing this is going to help you guys make smart decisions based on when to sell, how do we price when we do sell. A lot of you, unfortunately, are going to have lifestyle circumstances that don't necessarily match up with market circumstances. That's okay. The market is the market. And ultimately, we have different levers we can push and pull in order to help you achieve the results that are beneficial to you. But there is a little bit of the reality is, yeah, I think pricing can come down. And I'm showing you guys in real time why. It's really almost everything to do with inventory being at all-time highs, under contracts not keeping pace with new listings, even though we have a ton of showings and buyers in the market. Guys, the only way I think that we don't see a negative price curve is if interest rates come down significantly, not by like a quarter or 0.5. Like, we need rates, from my perspective, and I don't know that there's something out there that says, hey, when rates go down to 4%, the market's going to explode or overcome the supply and demand ratios. I don't know that there's a number, but my thought, based on just observing the market, we'd probably need to be 4%-ish for the supply and demand ratios to kind of even back out and get us to an appreciating market. Now, I could be wrong, guys. I could be wrong. And if you follow my channel and subscribe, I'll find different angles so that I can present them. And if I find an argument where I'm wrong, I would love to present that. But the reality is, guys, not many people are talking about this. And I genuinely feel like there could very well, and there already is for attached single family homes, be a negative price curve. Now, look at one other metric here. If we look at listings to contract days on market, this is essentially showing when you put a sign in the yard to when it goes under contract, you could see there's a little gap here. And there has been since the beginning of 2025, which is this line right here. And then the blue, the dark blue line is 2024. So even though we're trending down, we're still above 2024, and we're just about to hit this kind of plateau where days on market is going to hit the lowest. It is typically this year, and then it's going to climb back up. And so then you wonder, how big of a gap is that going to be? So with that, guys, let's get into message to sellers, which is if you're a homeowner and you have equity, this summer might be your last shot to sell before prices dip. How much are they going to dip? I don't know. Hopefully we get some downward pressure on interest rates, and that curbs the market from falling in price too much. I don't think it's going to be like this, some crash, but I definitely think we will have a negative price curve. It'll be a modest negative price curve in from my perspective. The market, the job economy, the buyers out there, they're buying. We have a very healthy market from my perspective. Just because prices are dropping doesn't always mean that it's a bad market, or that, you know, the earth's going to fall, or sky's going to fall on us. So with that said, sellers, like, yeah, now might be your last shot to sell high before we have prices slip. And waiting could cost you a lot of money. Let me show you something really quick. If you're a seller, this is gonna be super helpful for you. When we look at average sales price per week, this is going to tell you the trends of the market and how seasonal trends work. And so as you could see, prices tend to rise from January 1st to like that fourth week in January, you see them falling. And that's because these are all the homes that sold in December or went under contract in December, which is the slowest time of year. That's this market, right? And so, but once we get pricing from January to start closing, you see prices rise all the way until about June. But guys, June, the reflection of prices are all the homes that went under contract and sold in May. And then what you see is pricing retract from June all the way to December. And if we just look at last year, you started at the peak, or you have peak of the market 763,000. The pit of the market was 608,000, and we're seeing worse supply and demand ratios this year. You can already see, guys, pricing's a little bit below 2024. So it just makes you wonder, where are we going to end the year? Well, you know, if we know anything about supply and demand ratios and how they affect the market, especially if rates are going to stay higher, that I think like the writing's on the wall from my perspective and looking at stats, where we can absolutely see a negative price curve. So sellers, now's the time. I'd hate for you guys to get caught up selling in October and December, especially in this shifting market. Because I think, again, with a negative price curve, with the seasonal market being very slow at that time of year anyway, yeah, I don't love that. But again, sometimes lifestyle circumstances don't meet up with market circumstances. And ultimately, you need a really good team in any market to set you up for success. And if you guys are curious or interested to see how I work, I've been licensed here in Colorado for the last 10 years. You have my number on the screen. Feel free to reach out. And be sure to subscribe to the channel, guys. If you aren't ready to buy, sell, or invest in Colorado yet, but you know you are going to be in the next 3 to 6 to 12 plus months, you're going to want to find these videos, because I do an update every single Wednesday on the Denver real estate market. And it's really actionable insights based off of data, based off of market trends. And then we go into, what do you got to do to set yourself up for success? I'm tracking this every single week so that I can have these conversations and be a high-level consultant to my community, to my clients, and make sure you guys ultimately have great results. Do you see the market dropping in Brighton? How about foreclosures? Yeah, Christina, thank you so much for joining. In Brighton, yeah, I do. I think my comment about a negative price curve goes for all of Denver Metro. And by the way, these updates are Denver Metro. So Brighton falls in that, Adams County, Jefferson County. We're kind of talking about the greater Denver Metro when we do these updates. Um, you know, so yes, I do see prices declining in Brighton as well. How about foreclosures? Christina, you know, that's a really, really good question. How about foreclosures? That's something that I believe I'll do a video on here in the coming weeks. I think that if we look at the higher rates from the last 2 years, we're finally in a market where we've had 2 or 3 years of higher rates. And now we're going to start to see if there's a fallout because of those higher rates. At this point, the foreclosure market I'm not seeing too much of a concern, but again, that's something that I'll definitely look into and report back. So stay tuned. We'll get into foreclosures. I will say distressed sales for attached single family had a small uptick, 3.3% of townhomes and condos that transacted over the last month. 3.3 of them were distressed or foreclosures. So not alarming, but worth monitoring. And it's something I think is going to be much more a part of the conversation here in the coming months and years. Credit card debt is at all-time highs. So there's definitely some pressure that I think we'll feel in the market from a foreclosure standpoint. If we get really good rates in the next 6 to 12 months, say we see a significant decrease, a lot of those folks that bought when interest rates were high, they're going to refinance, and that could kind of come in and save the market, if you will. But we'll see. Great question. Thank you for that. Do you or have you worked with foreclosures? I have. Yep, indeed. I've done short sales, foreclosures. Now it depends on, like, am I representing a buyer on a foreclosure? Am I working with the bank on the listings? So, there's some I haven't done, some I have, but for the most part, yeah, absolutely. I definitely do work with foreclosures. If somebody maybe is going through a foreclosure and having a tough time and maybe needing to sell the house before they go in foreclosure, that's definitely something I've helped folks with in the past, all the way to, yeah, I've helped buyers with purchasing and looking into foreclosures. So in any way, shape or form with foreclosures, if I haven't done it, I have colleagues who have. So happy to help any way I can if there's a need there. Or if you just have, general questions, feel free to reach out. My number should be on the screen. And thank you for joining. Thank you for asking questions. That makes these fun. Message to buyers. If you're buying right now, it's time to negotiate hard. Ask for inspection credits, rate buy downs, price adjustments. You're very welcome, Christina. Thank you. And don't just pay the listing price. Leverage the shift. So, I'm talking to my message to sellers. I'm showing you guys the potential of the negative price curve. And so when it comes to buyers, like, the opposite is true. Hey guys, like, this is what's happening, buyers. So how do we set you up for success? And, I don't like to say this for my sellers because I want to get you the most amount of money possible. But the reality is, like, yeah, this is the market we find ourselves in. This is the market we likely find ourselves going into. And so for buyers, if I were in your shoes, I'm negotiating hard, because if I see this wave of inventory coming, if I think there's going to be any sort of negative price curve, then I'm going to be negotiating hard, knowing we're in spring season, which is the hottest time, typically seasonally, the hottest time to sell a house. The most money you're going to get as a seller, the most buyer activity and competition you're going to have. And so if I know I'm in that market, but I see where the market's going, I'm going to negotiate hard. And even though we're in that seasonal market where it's really good to sell, relatively speaking, based on the things that I just mentioned, even though we're in that market, it's still kind of favorable to buyers. Like I had referenced, inventory is at 2.3 months of inventory right now. Meaning, if we didn't sell a single home, meaning me and all my realtor friends, there was no transactions for 2.3 months, all the current inventory would finally sell. I'm sorry. If there are no new listings that come to the market, it would take 2.3 months to sell everything that's currently on the market. So with that, buyers, now's the time to negotiate. Maybe you even say, well, do I wait? Maybe. Again, lifestyle circumstances and market circumstances don't always align. But if they do, yeah, I mean, I always say and have always said, even in the hottest market we experienced in Colorado history, October through December is buying season. So like if you're really, really, really wanting to time the market as a buyer, that's generally where you're going to find the best deals, especially knowing inventory is going to be on the rise. If we surpass, which is very likely, inventory from last year, then we know come August, September, October through December, like there's going to be a lot of pressure on sellers to sell, a lot of pressure for them to reduce price. And so that's definitely going to be the best time. But if you're buying in today's market, the best thing you can do for yourself is just negotiate hard. Some sellers, the reality is will not negotiate. They might be in a position of leverage. And let me be very clear. There will be some standout markets. There will be some markets. We have those markets today where they're getting multiple offers over asking, believe it or not. You might think that like, wait, you're telling me the market might have a negative price curve. Here's where inventory is, etc. Yet we still have some homes getting multiple offers over asking. Absolutely. The market is hyper local, and you can have a house on one side of the street have incredible results, multiple offers over asking, and on the other side of the street, literally, that similar house sits on the market for 60 days. So there will definitely be those markets, and you need to be aware of that. And if you're going into a competing offer situation, you definitely want to make sure you set yourself up for success by having a high-level professional serve you. But for the most part, in general, now's the time to negotiate. If you're seeing those listings that have been on the market 60, 90 days, those are typically prime for negotiations. If you see a house on the market that's only been on for a week, you might not get as much opportunity there, right? So that's what I would say for buyers. Most homes on average are going to be closing having offered a concession. And so with that concession, you knowing that when you go into contract negotiations, like it's fairly common for a seller to offer it, or I should say accept an offer when you ask for concessions. So use that to your advantage as a buyer. And ultimately, regardless of what the market's doing, as a buyer, here's my rule of thumb. If you can find a house you love, numbers make sense. They might not be comfortable. They might not be like, oh my gosh, I do this all day long. More likely than not, they're going to be like, you're going to be comfortable with the uncomfortness of what numbers you have. But as long as the numbers are doable, you love the house, and you're planning on staying there for a fairly long period of time, or you're okay holding it fairly long period of time, whether you're going to rent, you just need to make sure you cash flow, then it doesn't really matter what the market's going to do, right? Because if you can find a house you love at the numbers that make sense, and you're going to stay there for a fairly long period of time, or you can, if need be, then you're going to be able to wait out any market correction to where prices, I can tell you some truth here based on looking at previous charts in history. Prices are always going to come up. They're always going to go down. They're always going to come up, and they're always going to go down. That's just the market cycle. So if you're in your house for a long period of time, then you're not really going to have all that much concern. If there's, a correction of some sorts, you'll just have to wait a little bit longer to sell your house. So that is it for today in terms of advice for sellers, buyers, why I believe personally there's going to be a negative price curve. Are there any questions you guys have? We got a crew today. And I just want to say, first off, thank you for showing some love, joining in. Please make sure to like the video, comment if you have any questions for us. And if you're on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the channel so that when you are ready to buy, sell, or invest here in Colorado, you can get live updates on what's actually happening in the market in a way that you understand and in a way that you're going to be able to use this information to ultimately achieve a better result when you go to buy, sell, or invest. And again, I am a licensed realtor, have been for 10 plus years, and would love nothing more to serve you guys. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Any other questions before we end today's live? I'm also going to look at my notes, see if there's any other gold nuggets. As we wait for any other last questions to come in, I want to say pro tips for Easter weekend. If you're currently listed, the general piece of insight I got from the statistics queen, if you will, of Colorado, Megan Allert. She does an amazing job for us agents, equipping us with some of this insightful information. Don't list or reduce price over Easter weekend. Listing before or after to avoid low showing activity and low ball offers. The reality is Easter weekend's a little bit slow. And so you don't want to go into a slow week reducing price or listing into a slow weekend. Turnkey home sell, project sit, buyers want move in ready. It is more important now than ever to prepare your home the best way you possibly can. So make sure, guys, sellers, if you're selling, prepare. Get your house as best as you possibly can so that you guys can succeed in today's market. And I think that's about it. Buyers, hang in there, negotiate, do your best to find a house you love, get numbers that make sense for you, and you'll be just fine. Sellers, just pay attention to the market and price accordingly, and make sure you're making decisions based off of, market analytics and trends. And, we do a weekly update for all of my sellers every single Monday, looking at this information, but specific to their home and neighborhood, so that we can make sure we're adjusting according to what's happening in the market. And ultimately doing that so that we can put my sellers in the best position to succeed, because there really is, from my perspective in today's market, a scenario where you might price drop too fast, or you might not price drop fast enough. And then there's the conversation of you just missing the mark completely to begin with, and then falling down that slope of slippery slope of price reductions. So guys, look, it used to be a market where you put a sign in the yard and you get multiple offers and sell for $50,000 to $100,000 over asking. We're just not there anymore. And that was easy times for realtors. We didn't even really have to be good, right? The market did all the work for us. But in today's market, from my perspective, you have to be good. You have to be really, really good at what you do. You have to be a high-level professional, a high-level consultant. You've got to go the extra mile in terms of marketing, the presentation of a home, etc. And, for me, and if there's any agents on here, let's welcome that, because now we actually get to build our skill sets, and those skill sets mean something. The language we're using, the expectations we're setting, the types of marketing that we're doing, the weekly updates, all of these things matter. And while the market might be a little bit harder for us agents, let's embrace it and enjoy the fact that our hard work actually means something. So with that, guys, I'm out. Thank you so much for joining. Appreciate it. Hope this was insightful, helpful. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube. Connect with me below. My number's been on the screen. I think based on what I'm seeing this whole time, call, text 303-332-1108, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.